Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So in this video I will be discussing about Aristotle literary criticism. So let's start. Aristotle was born in 384 BC at Stagira, a Macedonian city about 200 miles north of Athens. His father Nicomachus was a court physician of Philip of Macedon, and as a youth Aristotle had both opportunity and encouragement to development scientific turn of mind. At the age of 17, he went to Athens to become a pupil in Plato's school, the academy where he remained for 20 years as a student and teacher. Plato, the great teacher, spoke of his brilliant pupil as a nous, or very intellect of the academy. Plato, in turn, exerted a profound influence on his pupil, an influence which is reflected in the happy balance of Aristotle's interests. His love of science, inspired by his physician father, was tempered under Plato's tutelage by an equal appreciation of philosophy, politics, and metaphysics. An invitation from Philip of Macedon to become a tutor to Alexander, then aged 13. When Alexander laid aside his book to take up the sword, Aristotle returns to Athens in 335 BC and established a school in Gymnasium dedicated to Lyceum Apollo, from which the school received its historic name, the Lyceum. So, Aristotle was a man of noble character, realizing in his personality the great Greek ideal of measure and harmony taught in his system of ethics. His love of truth was strong, his judgment sober, impartial, and acute. He was a master of dialectics, a lover of detail, a great reader, a close observer, and a specialist. His literary style was like his thinking, sober, scientific, familiar, free from embellishment and flight of fancy, even dry. In these respects, he was unlike his great teacher Plato. In pursuing his words, we seem to be in the presence of calm, impersonal reason. He is, however, one of the greatest figures in the history of thoughts, a universal genius. His significant works include Poetics. So we also talk about art as a cognitive function. Art is of two kinds, according to him, as it aims at completing the work on nature or at creating something new, an imaginary world of its own, which is a copy of the real world. In the former case, we get such art as that of medicine, where nature has failed to produce a healthy body. The physician helps nature out and completes the work that she has begun. In the latter case, we get what are in modern times called the fine arts. These Aristotle calls the imitative art. We saw that Plato regarded all art as imitative and that such a view is essentially unsatisfactory. Now Aristotle uses the same word which he perhaps borrowed from Plato, but his meaning is not the same as Plato's, nor does he fall into the same mistake. What Aristotle means is that the artist copies not the sensuous object, but what Plato would call the idea. Art is thus not, in Plato's contemptuous phrase, a copy of a copy, but it is a copy of the original. Its object is not this or that particular thing, but the universal which manifests itself in the particular way. The common man sees only the particular object. The artist sees the universal in the particular. Every individual thing is a compound of matter and form, of particular and universe. The function of art is to exhibit the universal in it. So, according to him, Plato said that art is away from reality, and reality means ideal world. Aristotle also agreed that with Plato that art is an imitation, but he justifies that imitation is natural. How it is natural? For example, you try to imitate the writing of others. And the second thing is that he said imitation is pleasure. So, for example, you listen a song and try to imitate the lyrics of the song. And the third thing, he said that imitation is a mode of learning. For example, if someone is your ideal, you start imitating, and that imitation is a source of learning. According to Aristotle, art keeps you towards reality. When you imitate, through reasoning and logic, you keep yourself closer to the art. So, Aristotle also has some views on tragedy. He defines tragedy as the imitation of action that is serious, complete, and of certain magnitude in a language beautified in different parts with different kind of embellishment through action and not narrative, and through scenes of pity and fear about the catharsis of these emotions. So there are some certain 6 elements of tragedy as well. He also gave it. The first one is plot. Plot is without the plot, tragedy will no longer remain complete. Plot distinguished from story. there is a need of wholeness in a story. Things should start from the beginning, proper beginning, middle and end. Middle is the connection between beginning to an end, and middle leads to completion. Beginning must be clear. For example, in Greek's work, author wrote prologue in order to make beginning more clear. So plot is very important in the one of the first element of tragedy. The second one is characterization, characters. Four essential characterization according to Aristotle is that the character must be good. If character is wicked, should not be fully wicked. The second one is that character must be appropriate. Like character must be appropriate or natural. If character is slave, act like a slave. And the third one is that character must have likeness. Character must have likeness means love, hate, joy, relative. Means it should relate to it. And the fourth thing is that character must be consistent. Character must have the same personality trait throughout the plane. Flat characters are there. So four essential of characterization are there. The first one is the characters must be good. Characters must be appropriate. Characters must have likeness. The character must be consistent. Okay. Then we have diction. So diction is also very important. That how author is constructed an idea with beautiful language. How he construct the ideas, well construction. And then we have thoughts. Thoughts is an idea, that coherence and cohesion and coherence of the author. It should be well constructed. Then we have the spectacles. Spectacles are basically, by spectacle Aristotle means the costumings and scenery required in a theatrical production of tragedy. Of stage representation he says little, because according to him it has the least artistic merit and is least closely connected with the art of poetry. And then we have the melody. By melody Aristotle means the lyrical or musical element provided by the chorus. It is an important element because we know that historically tragedy begins with song and dance. So these are the 6 elements of tragedy that we need to remember, given by the Aristotle. Then we have some types of plots as well. The first type is simple plot. A simple plot is without any peripecia. Peripecia is something that we say that reversal of intention. And anagnosis. Anagnosis is a recognition of truth or realization of truth. So a simple plot is without peripecia and anagnosis, but the action moves forward without any violent or sudden change. The second plot is complex plot. Complex plot is Aristotle preferred complex plot. It must have peripecia, means reversal of intention, and anagnosis, that is recognition of truth or realization of truth. Then the third plot is plot based on depicting incident of sufferings. A powerful appeal to emotion, means Aristotle rates this kind of plot as very low. It derives its effect from depicting of torture, murder, death scenes, or it appeals to your emotions. So Aristotle also gave some unities as well. The 3 unities are there. The first one is unity of time. Unity of time refers to the concept that the action of the tragedy tends to take a single day, or according to Aristotle, the action of the play as far as possible confine itself to a single revolution of the sun. Unity of action, basically the second unity is refers to the tragedy possessing a beginning, middle and an end. The play action must rely solely upon itself. No unexpected character, abilities or actions can be introduced to change the action of the play. The third one is unity of place. Unity of place refers to the idea that everything takes place in a singular setting. Unlike the epic where the setting is vast, the setting of the tragedy is relatively small. Okay, these are the 3 tragedies, three unities given by the Aristotle. So there the function of tragedy is the simple given by the Aristotle, that it arouses emotions of pity and fear. In the characters must arouse the emotion of pity and fear. The function of tragedy is to just arouse, it appeals to your emotion. That is the main function. Then there are the quality of tragic hero. The first one is hubris. So hubris is basically the pride, while hamartia is any flaw. Hamartia is a tragic flaw of the protagonist in a literary tragedy, while hubris is excessive pride or arrogance of the tragic hero. So that's all from my side. If you have any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. Please like, subscribe and share my channel. Thank you for watching.